Hi everyone, thanks for choosing to watch and listen to my presentation. Today I will be talking about the ongoing debate surrounding how to properly memorialize and remember American slavery, the Confederacy, and the antebellum South. Of course, all three of those distinct areas are very much interrelated. More specifically, I will be focusing on one monument in particular that was erected in 2001, and how the controversy that ensued can be connected to the very recent discussions of Confederate monuments and their role in public life today. The monument at the center of my presentation is named the African American Monument, and it's located in Savannah, Georgia. It was pushed for by a woman named Abigail Jordan, who was also a retired educator and wanted to have a monument that really told the story of how horrible slavery was. She also wanted the monument to serve as a site of counter-memory. Sites of counter-memory are also known as, quote, I got this from one of my sources, quote, material spaces and symbolic practices created by subaltern groups who refuse to forget and seek public recognition of their historical contributions and experiences, end quote. So the monument is located in a busy tourist district and consists of a modern black family who is arranged in a tight embrace and standing within a circle of broken chains. A picture of this monument is included in my tweet as well, so check it out there and you can see the design. As part of the proposal, Jordan wanted to include an inscription that detailed the graphic and torturous nature of the transatlantic slave trade. Unsurprisingly, this inscription was the most hotly debated issue of the monument, even though pretty much every element of it, including its location, its erection, its design, all had elements of pushback within public comments. This debate points to a broader national narrative of how to best represent African Americans as victims of slavery and the legacy of slavery and racism in contemporary America. Much of the practice of erecting monuments, especially those surrounding antebellum America, has been embedded in white-centric narratives that largely exclude the stories and contributions of African Americans. This practice is tied heavily into what's called symbolic annihilation, and I also got this from one of my sources. Symbolic annihilation is the tendency to, quote, characterize how traditional accounts of the South's antebellum history silence or misrepresent the enslaved and thus perpetuate an institutional forgetfulness, end quote. This monument, the one in Georgia, and others like it, are a direct and rightful attack on such narratives. Returning to the monument's inscription, the original reading was to be a Maya Angelou quote from one of her speeches. It was supposed to be, quote, we were stolen, sold, and bought together from the African continent. We got on the slave ships together. We lay back to belly in the holds of the slave ships in each other's excrement and urine together. Sometimes died together and our lifeless bodies thrown overboard together, end quote. Of course, people in Savannah had many objections to this grotesque and accurate depiction, including a concern that the inscription's vivid imagery would discourage tourists from coming to that area of Savannah, because that's what's really important. Ultimately, the city council would only approve the monument after a more hopeful sentence was added to the end of the inscription, and that sentence said, quote, today we are standing up together with faith and even some joy, end quote. And I believe Maya Angelou, I don't think that was originally in her speech. I think she added that specifically for this monument. The debate surrounding this monument, as mentioned before, points to America's hesitancy in addressing slavery and ongoing discussions about how best to remember the antebellum era. This is closely related to recent discussions about how appropriate it is to leave Confederate monuments standing in the public square. Confederate statues, as we know, were less about remembering history and more about upholding white supremacy. However, alternative narratives have entered the public sphere, arguing that their removal would be erasing history and Southern heritage. In reality, these monuments were and are about the glorification of slavery, the Confederate cause, and the antebellum South. The erection of monuments about slavery and the Confederacy and the debates that surround them point to America's discomfort with its historic discrimination and traumatization of Black people and its tendency to believe in false historical narratives. Thank you all. Can't wait to see all your presentations.